Okay, good evening, ladies. Thank you so much for joining the call. For those that don't know me, I'm Zoe. I started going through the perimenopause about 4 years ago, which is why I kind of got involved in these menopause calls. I'm delivering them sort of on a monthly basis. So I just really wanted to kick off the call. It's actually World Mental Health Day today.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to focus on mental well-being, especially during the menopause. So when you're going through the menopause, you may experience feelings of anxiety, stress, or even depression. And these may include anger or irritability, forgetfulness, loss of self-esteem.
Oh no, it didn't join the video.
Oh, hang on, I just need to mute people, sorry, because it's...
You can turn it up.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
There's the mute.
You're in 3 hours each.
Sorry, can you mute yourselves if you're not...
Zoe, you've muted yourself, love.
That's not very helpful, is it? Can you hear me now? Yeah, so that can include loss of self-esteem or confidence, low mood, poor concentration, which a lot of people term as brain fog, and lack of sleep. And as we go through the perimenopause, our hormones decline and fluctuate. And when we get stressed, this can cause our cortisol levels to rise, cortisol being the stress hormone. So elevated cortisol reduces the effectiveness of estrogen, particularly in the brain. And we can help control these by our lifestyle choices. So things like exercise and movement, meditation and mindfulness, nutrition, which is a big one that I'm going to talk about a bit later as well. Sleep, we need to take time out for ourselves. That's absolutely vital to make sure that our we keep those cortisol levels normal, because that can contribute to lots of other things going on as well. So but I just thought I'd cover that topic because of we are World Mental Health Day today, and I know that it affects a lot of people, not just in menopause but generally in our society. So and on the call tonight is Fiona has kindly agreed to join us. So Fiona, I was going to hand over to you next. So if you can introduce yourself. I met Fiona, or we got chatting because I went to her menopause school, and I've signed up and I'm currently doing one of her menopause courses. So perhaps you can tell us a bit about yourself, Fiona, and also give us a wealth of your knowledge and experience.
Sure. Hi, my name is Fiona Catchpole, and I've created the Menopause School. I started blogging about menopause and perimenopause, and was like rather discombobulated, given that I was delivering the biology syllabus. I have an HND in applied biology, and I'm a teacher, have taught as well. So I was teaching GCSE and A-level biology to students in Spain, and felt very peculiar and weird and wondered what on earth was going on. And then as I started to look into it, realized what was going on, and the fact that there was lots of other people that didn't know what was going on. So with my teaching background, science background, digital marketing as well, I decided to collate lots of different knowledge from different sources, had it peer reviewed and checked over by menopause specialists, and put together some training that people who want to get kind of like the bigger picture with the evidence-based information, and then be able to help signpost and guide others. And like I said in my little bio, an advocate of an informed choice. So you have all that information there at your fingertips. And so I've been, over the last 12 months, training a collective of menopause doulas who are changing lives one menopause at a time. And so I also have now talking periods, which is an add-on little course for the end user, let's say. So the menopause school is for people that want to kind of dive. One of the things that I discovered that I think is one of the missing pieces of the puzzle. There's quite a few missing pieces of the puzzle, and why we don't know what we should know. And that is the fact that we need to join the dots between periods and perimenopause and menstrual health and menopause, and how that journey and the blueprint of what we are going to experience as menstruators is set in stone. It's 85% of the journey is dictated by our DNA. And if we just knew a few more pieces and nuggets of information, the mental health, anxiety, because we don't know what's going on. And so if we learnt more about what was going on way ahead of time, from understanding our menstrual cycle and what that actually means, our menstrual health, it's not just the period where we bleed for 7 days, it's the other 21 that has almost a bigger impact on our health and well-being, and that's what menstrual health is as a whole. So I have a little audio series called Talking Periods, which is designed for menstruators to listen to, read the different infographics, and get that kind of condensed but very clear understanding of what menstrual health means with what I call a lifetime filter. So that you have a lot more understanding and preparation, so that as things start to change, you are aware of the changes. Because anybody tell me? I kept on thinking, well, I've missed the menopause memo. There was no kind of like email that came around about in your late 30s that said, hey, listen, your ovaries are about to change operating system, and you need to be prepared for some changes that are going to occur. And when you sit there for 8 hours and can't remember the conversation you had with somebody at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it takes until in the afternoon to suddenly remember what it was they said to you, that's perimenopause. And there's a whole load of things that contribute towards that kind of thing. And so yes, that's what I've been doing the last 6 years, and that's how I've met Zoe, and this is where we are today.
Brilliant. Thank you for that.
Did menopause forever?
No, that's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Fiona. Appreciate that. I think I was just going to come on to sort of next, really, you know, kind of me generally as well. I mean, I was sort of, when I hit perimenopause, I don't think at the time I actually really knew that I was in perimenopause, but I think when I started getting the hot flushes and the night sweats, which I think is kind of a typical symptom, isn't it? You know, a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'm in menopause, but actually looking back, I think I've been going through it for quite a long time before that. You know, and there was loads of symptoms. I mean, I think that there's a symptom list in my group, and I think there's 40 symptoms, and I think I was suffering from 28, and now I'm barely suffering with 2. And I've managed to do that all naturally. And so for me, at the time I was told that HRT was in short supply and that actually it wouldn't be on offer to me. And I was always one of these people that was a little bit reluctant to go down the HRT route, because my mum had a really bad experience on it and she had to come off it. It sent her doolally, basically. That's how she described it. And I do remember her being quite a moody Trudy, if I'm honest. You know, she was quite difficult for a time, but at the time didn't really realise what was going on. And then I was told to go and source some natural products, and that's exactly what I did. And this is why sort of, I suppose it's brought me to delivering these calls, because you can naturally manage your menopause symptoms. HRT is great and it works great for a lot of people, but some people can't take it for whatever reason. And I mean, we actually do a range of product, and each product has sort of contributed to improving my health, so not just my menopause but generally my health. So I don't get night sweats or hot flushes anymore. Literally I get the odd hot flush, but not like every day like I used to. My aches and pains have massively improved. I was struggling for years with a stiff neck. I had knee problems, and you know, and I think what it's done, I've just put really good nutrition into my body. And as I said earlier, you know, one of the things that, you know, that we need to focus on is nutrition. You know, you can't just take a pill and expect that actually the menopause is going to go away. You've got to sort of work at it. And so what we do now is, you know, I talk to ladies, and if they're interested in going down the next route, I talk to them about their nutrition, and adding in sort of nutrition. And I take a vegan Amiga capsule, and I'll go into that a bit later actually. But we do have a product stories group where you can see testimonials of lots of ladies, you know, like me. And there's some ladies on this call that have, you know, that have had great improvements, you know, since taking our products. And actually that brings me to my next guest tonight, Sarah. You know, Sarah, I'll let Sarah tell you her story, but basically Sarah's, well, she's been on HRT, she's come off it, and she's kind of turned her symptoms around. So Sarah, do come on and tell us your menopause journey and how you've tackled it.
Hiya. Yeah, no worries. Well, to start with, I thought I was being a professional woman, out and about, just sit. I was out and about seeing clients to someone who suffered, I was crippled with anxiety. I couldn't leave the house for 6 months, didn't know what was going on. My doctor said I told them I was having flushes 3, 4, 5 a day, really horrific flushes. They were, you know, sorry, my cats are about to go and have a fight in front of me. They were debilitating, the flushes I was having. It was awful. And they said I was too young to go through menopause. I knew I wasn't. I'd started my periods by the age of 9. My mum had finished her periods by the age of 48. So I sort of knew I was in that sort of bracket. But nonetheless, they ignored me, put me on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, felt rubbish for a while. And then I started doing my own research. Realized actually I was in perimenopause, and yeah, wanted, like you, we have a history of DVT in the family. I was very, very dubious about going on HRT. So for years, I was managing it naturally, all fine. Things weren't getting worse. My anxiety was under control. I was actually diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I was off all my fibro meds after taking the supplements I take, and looking after what I ate, which was just, I felt like I'd gone from this complete wreck at 39 to, by the time I was 42, I just felt like the old me again, if that makes sense. So fast forward a few years, as you know, 18 months ago, got made redundant, set my own business up, really took the eye off the ball, and I stopped taking what was working for me. You know, we all do it. We know we shouldn't do things, or we should do things, and we don't do them for whatever reason. Stop becoming my daily habit. So by April this year, I was waking up 5 out of 7 nights with a panic attack, mid-panic attack in the night. I was having anxiety, crippling anxiety. My hot flushes were back sort of 2, 3 times a day, really badly. And these were the ones that my heart rate would be at 120 beats per minute for a sustained 20-minute period. And then I was having the freeze flash afterwards. So I was completely exhausted, and it was interfering with my daily life again. So I was given a mental shake back in May to sort of get a grip again and start doing what I knew was working. So I, at that time, I had been on HRT, and the only change I found, that I wanted to eat anything that wasn't nailed down. I literally was eating anything. Even if I knew I wasn't hungry, I felt a craving. It was awful. I put a stone on because of it, and I was only on it for a couple of months. And so I started taking the supplements again. Within 4 weeks of that, I stopped HRT. I felt phenomenal. I felt so much better. Within 6 weeks, 7 weeks, my flushes had stopped, due to my fibro were all under control again. My palpitations stopped, my blood pressure was back within, I think I showed you the sort of the reading where it was before, it was 150 over 105. It was back to 120 over 80. All of that was due to the fact that I was taking these supplements, which, you know, to me, having that break off them, seeing where I went and how I am now is just categoric proof. That's the only thing I've changed. I've not even been 100% with my food. That's what's changed, and that's why I feel better now than I did, you know, I was the shell back in April.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sarah. You've had an amazing journey, haven't you? And, you know, for somebody that's tried everything, and actually, I think it just shows that, you know, putting good nutrition into our bodies is absolutely key, especially when we're going through the menopause, because, you know, our bodies just need goodness, don't they? You know, it's all going a bit wayward, so we need to sort of love it and care for it and give it what it needs. And I just wanted to sort of come on, really.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on. My internet's not great, so I keep getting kind of like stalls between talking with people.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, do you know, I was one of these people, even of this year, I was like, oh, shakes for weight loss. And it's only through reading as heavily as I have about the menopause and the perimenopause that I realize how much we need protein in our diets, and the other things like magnesium and zinc and vitamin D. And what I've realized is actually a constant in my daily routine is also the shakes, not only the omegas but the shakes.
Yeah.
And they give me all those nutrients that I know we should be having, which that to me was a game changer, because it's very strange. We're in this society where we think shakes are a weight loss issue, you know, they are for weight loss, whereas now I just think actually that's just my healthy breakfast, and that is just setting me up right for the day, and literally every day now, and if I don't have them, I can absolutely feel the difference.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So, well, I'm the same. You know, I have one of our shake to breakfast because the ingredients in there are so, you know, it's full of goodness. Like you say, you mentioned the magnesium, the zinc, the vitamin K, the vitamin D. You know, there's lots of vitamins in there. But I just wanted to also come back to our Amiga capsules, and I'm just going to show people, because people like to see what things look like, don't they? There's the capsules there, and actually just talk a bit about what is different about these ones. There's a lot of Amigas out there on the market, as I'm sure you probably all know. Well, these are vegan, and they include all 5 Amigas, so the 3, 5, 6, 7 and 9. And so we source it from the algae that the fish feed on. So there's no fishy taste either, because I know there's a lot of omegas that are very fishy. I can't imagine eating like smelly fish ones every day. These don't taste of anything. And ours are also bioavailable as well, so they go straight into your bloodstream. Your body recognizes that, it takes it in, goes straight into your bloodstream, which is why it can take longer for people to notice improvements. For me, it was about 4 weeks. Some of my ladies are noticing within a week. I think Rhiannon had one of her ladies, she was 10 days the other day. You know, we need omega fatty acids in our diet. We can't, our bodies can't produce that. So unless you eat lots of fish, I mean, I like fish and I eat lots of fish, but I also take these as well. So I'm getting my influx of omega fatty acids through, you know, through those capsules. So also as well, I mean, you know, just going back to the nutrition, we do a fruit, a berry and a veg capsule. And these are they're the capsules there. One's red, one's green and one's berry. And here they are. don't know if you can all hear me. God, all your cameras went off then. I don't know if my internet's gone funny, but they're the fruit, veg and berry capsules. And again, you know, 70% of our you know, our gut health is key, and 70% of that controls our immune system. So those are flooding your body with the equivalent of 30 different varieties of fruit, veg and berries. And we're always being told, aren't we, that actually to follow a diet rich in fruit and vegetables. And the difference with these is that, you know, they're freshly grown, they're dehydrated, so all the sugar's taken out of them. And, you know, they're put into those capsules. And again, which is why we see lots of people having great results and improvements on these with their hair, their skin, their nails. Their immune systems are strong. I mean, I can't remember the last time I had a cold since I started taking these, or a cough. I mean, I had COVID and I didn't even have symptoms. Whether that was a coincidence or whether these capsules contributed to that, I don't know. But really, they are, you know, they are our sort of, you know, our key capsules, which are great for your nutrition. And like Sarah mentioned, the shake as well. It's a replacement meal, but again, it's got everything that us ladies need, you know, for our well-being, especially going through the menopause. So, I mean, that's really in a nutshell those products. So just before, I was going to do like a question and answer thing at the end, so we have still got a bit of time. I just wanted to mention that I am a distributor for these products. I actually joined the business myself a month after I started the products. I've got my own recruitment business, which actually died in lockdown, and I got involved in this business because I was bored. I had nothing else to do. But you know, so it may be something, I don't know, that might be something that you might consider as a little sideline, or you know, you just reach out and help ladies, not necessarily going through the menopause. I mean, that's something topic that I've been interested in because it's something I've experienced myself. I've had great results. But if you are interested in that side of things, then please reach out for some more information. But so has anybody got any questions for either myself, Fiona or Sarah? If you want to unmute yourself to ask any questions, or if you want to pop anything in the comments in the chat, please feel free to do. I'm just checking to see if anybody's put anything in there. No, it's all well wishes for Sarah. So yeah, I've got a question for you, Fiona. So I'm sure there's a lot of ladies on this call here. You know,
I lost you.
Have you got me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I've got you out.
So, you know, can you sort of tell us the transitions from sort of peri to menopause, post-menopause? Give us a bit of a, you know, your take on that.
No, well, I can explain it. It's a bit kind of, I'll give you a bit of a biology for grown-ups, because I always think it's actually, if you know the nitty-gritty, it puts a lot of things into context. So we have a lifetime level of hormones, the hormone collective, I call it. So we have lots of different hormones, but the ones that that are related to menstrual cycle and menopausing are estradiol and progesterone. Those, we have a couple of others in the menstrual cycle, but the ones involved in the menstrual cycle are the ones involved in perimenopause and menopause. So this is why, if we knew more and understood more about what was going on in a menstrual cycle, as the changes occur, we would be more prepared for perimenopause. So the way it works is, basically, we have a bit of menopause maths here, okay, on menstrual maths. So from, let's say 11, I think somebody said there were 9 when they started their periods, but if we go with 11, because it makes the numbers easier, we are pre-programmed to have periods, a menstrual cycle, for approximately 40 years. During that time, we will have between 400 to 450 periods. The free of our periods, which is why if you count the days and track your menstrual cycle, you will already start to be able to work out roughly how many periods you've already had. And 85% of this is dictated by your DNA, how long your periods will go. So the lady that was speaking, I'm so sorry, I can't remember your name.
Sarah.
You said that your parent, pardon?
Sarah.
Sarah, you said it straight away that your mum had a similar period start date. Is that right to you? Yeah. And so when you go to the doctors, which this is why you're asked about your closest female relative, you know, what experience did they have? So if you haven't asked, ask. If you haven't got, you know, a close female relative, the next available one, cousins, siblings, okay, start to build up a picture and collect the data on you. And this is really important because everybody's experience is unique, but this is a journey that we are destined to have. It's a continuum, it's dynamic, and it's one way, it's a one-way ticket, right? So you can start to collect the data on yourself in each menstrual cycle and understand how long your cycle is. We talk about the average being 28 days, but only 16% of menstruators actually have a 28-day cycle. Everybody else has them either shorter or longer. And if you know what yours is, and I had a lady who had cycles where they're 5, and it repeated itself literally just like that. The number of periods in a year, you kind of start to build that part of the jigsaw puzzle. So roughly how many cycles you're likely to have. Obviously, if you're on contraception, you still count the beat. Okay, your eggs don't get all collected up and wait for when you stop your contraception. That's not how it works. So the ovaries have this lifespan with this potential number of eggs and follicles that it can release. And if you're on contraception, you still have to count the beat, and you still count the beat as well when you're pregnant. Okay, so there's lots of different things that go on with contraception and pregnancy, but we're just going to park that over there and we'll talk about a typical timeline here. So if you then say, okay, so if I start at 11, I'm going to have 40 years worth of cycles, add those two together, we get to 51, which is the average age of menopause. So I'm generalizing there, and menopause being the day that you've gone 12 consecutive months without a period, right? So literally menopause is one moment in time. But we use that word in lots of different ways, and I believe that that creates a lot of confusion. We talk about menopause transition, going through the menopause. I reach menopause at. And what we really mean is we are menopausing. If we turn it from a noun into a verb, and menopausing from the day you start your periods to the day you stop your periods, because it's just this continuous cycle. And the levels of the most important hormone, the estradiol, which for menstruators is like the conductor of this hormone orchestra. Get it in the right balance, everything works incredibly well. Too much and too little, and we start to get these signs and indicators and challenges that we call symptoms. We shouldn't really call them symptoms, because symptoms are what you get when you have a disease, and menopause is not a disease. So the overall, now, am I back to front? I think I'm mirror image, so I'm trying to be like an aerobics instructor. I'm not quite sure. So imagine you start your period. So we actually have estradiol, estrogen in us from the day we're born, like as a fetus. We actually have quite a bit. And so we balance till about 8, and we start our ovaries switch on. Years beforehand, and then the levels start to go up, and then once we get into our periods, they start to go up, but then we might not have a regular period to start off with, so it might go up, might go down, might go up, but it is increasing. We have an aging arc of hormones that goes like this. But in general, for menstruators, we have a bit of a rocky road on this side. When we get to our late 20s, it kind of plateaus. And then as we reach our late 30s, it starts to go back down and we hit that rocky road again. So if you are in perimenopause, kind of really from your late 30s onwards, it could be, and you have teenagers in the house, sides of hormonal aging arch, which is why you may be clashing, because the estradiol, which we've mentioned already by Zoe, that particular hormone has, when the levels change suddenly, and then also in ratio to progesterone, because when you track your cycles, one of the things you will start to notice is that you will have slightly different bleeds. It's going to be the same every month, but it's quite normal, in inverted commas, for us as menstruators to not ovulate every month, regardless if there's challenges with fertility and reproduction and things like that. So could go, say, 12 months and have, say, 13 cycles, and 3 of those could be what's called anovulatory, and we don't actually release an egg from the ovaries. That particular month, we will still have a bleed, but it will be a little bit different. And it's a really good indicator of whether you've ovulated or not. Because if you haven't ovulated, you don't get as much or any ovarian progesterone. And when the ratio of progesterone to estradiol changes all of a sudden, this is when we can maybe get some more PMS, slightly different menstrual health symptoms like bloating, or it might get a really heavy period, or it might be a really light period, or almost no period at all, and you go, oh, I'm pregnant. But it's so your menstrual cycle, and you start to pick up all these indicators and become a hormone detective as you move along these different operating systems from premenopause to then perimenopause, and then further down to menopause and then postmenopause. You'll start to feel the changes maybe more than you would if you weren't tracking, particularly the psychological ones as well, because those are the ones that generally catch us off guard at the early stages of perimenopause. Because as menstruators, we have this that the ovaries are going to operate over, but we also have hormonal aging as well. So all of our hormones are aging. So like non-menstruators, or co-menstruators as I like to call them, we all age. And that's in relation to this hormonal arc. Many of the hormones have a hormone arc, and some of them are different time frames. But with a menstruator that, for example, where their hormonal aging clashes with their ovarian aging, they can sometimes get really severe symptoms a little bit earlier. And we don't connect the dots. We don't join the dots. And it might taper off for a couple of years, and then we'll get another couple of symptoms. And then it's not until we get like the 7 or 8 symptoms, we suddenly go, oh my God, is it perimenopause? And that's when you may have. But if you start to track, start to collect all this data, and anybody that you know who's younger than you that isn't doing this, tell them their cycles, they'll start to build up this picture. And that's also then when you can identify nutritional components that are of more benefit to you at different times of your cycle. And you'll start to realize that perhaps if you have been on a weight loss program and you're menstruating regularly, you may only lose weight at one point in the month, even though you've been really, really good, as we say, or consistent from one end of the month to the other. I would put my eggs on it. What's that? You will probably find, if you're tracking your cycle, that the time that you will lose weight or burn the fat will be just at ovulation, when estradiol is at its peak in the middle of your menstrual cycle, because it actually helps to support our metabolism and how we burn and store fat. So that's another reason why we also then, if you look at your menstrual cycle and the changes in the cycle, when we're perimenopause and the levels are reducing, so we have this X factor competition really each month. When we're menstruating normally, we have about 15 to 20 eggs that will kind of like, we have 1,000 audition for the X Factor, 15 to 20 enter the competition, and the excitement creates this surge. As we go through perimenopause, the number of eggs competing gets less, and that's why the levels fall in general. And every now and then you'll get another surge of 15 to 20 instead of like 5 to 7, and that is what accounts for those downward levels. But if you've tuned into your cycle and you know how you get different kind of tune in as you hit different parts of the perimenopause phase, then we get to the menopause, and then after that it's post-menopause. But you can still feel sometimes the wear and tear, and you can still get some of these symptoms. So it's more important than ever, like Zoe has said, to kind of look at the whole menopause toolkit on Menstrual Health Toolkit, of which nutrition is a really important one, and your movement. I call virtual vitamin O, so breathing is really important as well, because that will help to reduce this cortisol. Cortisol impairs. If you have vitamin O, virtual vitamin O, breathe and be still. Virtual vitamin L is another good one. So we need to find something to laugh about, because that will actually help reduce our anxieties. And then virtual vitamin M, which is movement. And then, of course, we've got the nutrition as well. So thinking of all of the components of your menstrual health, and then you will find the transition easier. This is how I worked it all out, by tuning into it. I was working with a personal trainer. The year I was 49, it strength trade, and rather than just do something very simple, I decided to learn how to do Cirque du Soleil. I didn't quite get as good as Pink, but I did manage to do some moves. But working with a personal trainer at the time as well, he was checking in on me kind of like all the time, saying, how do you feel? How do you feel? Tracking my cycle, tracking the nutrition, the movement. And that was then when I started to have these light bulb moments and realized what was actually happening at different parts of the cycle. And then the mental health side of it is also your own perception, because I kept on
Sorry,
thinking I was
Fiona,
in
we've
pain
literally
all the
got a
time.
minute
I was
left, just to let
tired
you
all
know.
the time. Sorry.
No,
Okay.
that's fine. No,
I
that's
don't know. I
fine.
can't see the clock. I've got my glasses.
Yeah.
But yeah, so your mental approach changes as well makes a huge difference. And being positive as much as you can, and tackling the changes head on, rather than being kind of grumpy about it.